In some narrations, not mentioned in the Sahihain, in some narrations it is mentioned that on one of the Sundays of Ramadan, on one of the Saturdays of Ramadan, the Prophet ﷺ saw a light and heard a sound. And he looked around and he didn't find anything. And then on Sunday, the same thing happened. That he saw a bright light and he heard a sound. And he looked around and he couldn't find anything. And then on Monday was when Jibreel came to him. Because we know for a fact it was Monday when Jibreel came to him. Hadith in Sahih Muslim says that when somebody asked him, why do you fast on Mondays, Ya Rasulullah? So the Prophet ﷺ said, on a Monday I was born. And on a Monday the revelation began. So the revelation began in the last 10 days of Ramadan on a Monday. This is what we know for sure. And that day marks for us Laylatul Qadr. The night before it is Laylatul Qadr, right? So the revelation began on one of the last 10 days of Ramadan on a Monday. And as I said, there are some riwayat that the Saturday and Sunday he heard something, he saw something, but he could not physically see any being there. Something is happening. And the fact that he remains in Hira while this is happening shows his bravery, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That there's a light, there's a sound, but he still remains there. Then on Monday occurs the famous incident that all of us know, we tell it to our children, that when he was sitting in Ghar Hira, Aisha is narrating from Sahih Bukhari, the Malak, the angel, came to him and told him, Iqra. So the Prophet ﷺ said, Ma ana biqari. Ma ana biqari. And so Jibreel took him and squeezed him so tight, the Prophet ﷺ said, Hatta balagha minni al-jahd. Yani I lost all energy. Can you imagine how tight that must have been, that you lose energy? You cannot breathe anymore. And the Prophet ﷺ thinks that he might black out or just not be conscious anymore. Then he let me go again. And then he said to me again, Iqra. So I said again, Ma ana biqari. So for the second time he squeezed me so tight that I thought that I wouldn't last until he let go of me. And for the third time, and then for the third time. And then the third time, he said, اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم. Now a number of points here before we move on. Firstly, why is Jibreel squeezing him? Why is Jibreel squeezing him so tightly that he thinks that he's not going to last, that it's so tight he can't even breathe? There's really no authoritative answer, but we can venture a guess. We can hazard a guess. And some scholars say to indicate that he is not dreaming. This is a real thing, because when you think you're dreaming, what do? You pinch yourself, right? So this is to indicate this is a real. When you feel physical pain, you are not dreaming. So to indicate this is real. Others say that Jibreel is indicating that you are about to be inspired with this heavy message. Inna sanuqi alayka qawlan thaqila. We're going to inspire you with a heavy message. It's not going to be easy. And it was physically painful for the Prophet ﷺ to receive wahi, and we'll talk about that in a while. It was physically painful. It was an energy draining experience. To be inspired by Jibreel was not an easy task. And Allah says, we're going to give you a heavy revelation. So to indicate that there will be heaviness. And some scholars derive, and again Allah knows best, there's no way to verify. Some scholars derive that this was an indication that you're going to face 3 significant trials that you think will be the end for you. But every time Allah will give you a way out. And these 3 trials were the boycott, where the Muslims for 2.5 years literally had almost no food to eat, and the assassination attempt, and then the hijrah, in which once again the Prophet ﷺ was literally, Allah saved him with a number of miracles, as you know, or else any other person would not have made it through. And then of course the most difficult time for the Prophet ﷺ, that's the Battle of Uhud, when he was surrounded by the Quraysh. They were just 1 step away from finding him. He was already bleeding from 3 places from his head, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it was a very difficult time. The Sahaba did not know where he was. He was only with 2 or 3 Sahaba, and they didn't know where the Prophet was. So these 3 times, it is as if he's being indicated, you will have 3 traumatic experiences, but every time Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open the way out for you. Once again, Allah knows what is the significance of why these 3 squeezes occurred. Now, As for the revelation itself, of course, Iqra has two meanings to it. Iqra has two meanings to it in the Arabic language. The first meaning of Iqra is to read from a paper. And the second meaning of Iqra is to recite from memory. Iqra can mean to read, and Iqra can mean to recite. And to this day we use the same. If you tell a boy, Iqra al-Quran, he will ask you, from my memory or from the Mus'haf? Because the verb encompasses both meanings. So when Jibreel told him, Iqra, the Prophet ﷺ understood to read from a paper. So he responded back, Ma ana biqari. I don't know how to read. I am unlettered. I haven't been taught how to read. I don't know how can I read? And so, but Jibreel didn't mean Iqra from the paper. Jibreel meant Iqra, not from a paper. Iqra, and where he's going to move on. He's going to say, how should you recite? And so again he tells him, recite. And so the Prophet only understands reading. So he goes, I don't know how to read. So for the third time when he says this, now Jibreel tells him, I'm not asking you to read from a paper. No. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Your recitation will come directly from Allah, not from a paper. Your recitation will be in the name of Allah and with the blessings of Allah and communicating with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Iqra bismi rabbik. The qira'ah will be bismi rabbik. Here the ba can mean that when you recite you say Bismillah, right? And this is beautiful, that the first verse revealed is not Bismillah. It is Iqra bismi rabbik, right? Which is very profound here. That he is being told that you need to recite in the name of your Lord. When you recite, recite bismi rabbik. It could also mean Iqra bismi rabbik. The ba here is you will recite by Allah. Your recitation will be by Allah. Yani ba as-sababiyya as we call it in Arabic. The recitation will come from Allah directly. You don't need to recite from yourself. And then there are other meanings of ba, and of them is that Allah will help you in this recitation. Ba al-ma'iyya, Allah will help you. That when you recite, you don't need to know, Allah is going to tell you what to recite. The bottom line, Jibreel is telling him, I'm not asking you to read from a parchment. You will recite directly from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who is this? The Lord who created. What did He create? Everything. Bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. It's not finished. The verse is not finished because it's not mentioned what Allah created. And there's no need to finish the verse because there's no conditional clause here. Allah created everything. Allah doesn't need to finish the sentence. Created what? Because Allah created everything. So the Prophet is being told, you are going to get a revelation directly from the one who created everything around you. And then to emphasize, who is this being? خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانِ. He created everything and then He created man. And now He's communicating with man. And He's chosen you to communicate with man. خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ عَلَقٍ. The being who's communicating with you, He created man from that which clings. Al-alaq, we explained, is that which is suspended, right? So al-alaq is that which is suspended, and most scholars say this is a reference to the human embryo, the fetus that is clinging, or the embryo that is clinging in the womb of the mother. And so Allah is saying, the one who created man in all of these stages, who took man out of the womb of this mother, this being is now going to inspire you. That الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْإِنسَانَ مِنْ عَلَقٍ اقْرَأْ وَرَبُّكَ الْأَكْرَمُ. Go ahead and recite. So Iqra is mentioned twice. Iqra in the beginning and then Iqra in the third verse, right? And the reason for this duality, the reason for saying Iqra twice, there's many things we can say. Firstly, your job is to recite and keep on reciting. So the dual Iqra is for repetition. Iqra and then continue Iqra. Iqra and continue Iqra. And this is of course proven in the Quran. Your job is to spread the message. Your job is to give the balagh. Your job, قُلْ إِنَّمَا أُنذِرُكُمْ بِالْوَحِي. Say, I am warning you by the revelation. وَذَكِّرْ بِالْقُرْآنِ. Warn them through the Qur'an. So the Iqra means you need to spread the Qur'an to them over and over again. And some scholars have said that the dual repetition of Iqra here is that the first Iqra is for religious knowledge and the second Iqra is for the knowledge of this world. Why? Because the first Iqra says, Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Khalaqa al-insana min 'alaq. So recite from Allah directly. And then the second is, Iqra wa rabbuka al-akramu alladhi 'allama bil-qalam. Read. And your Lord is the most generous. The one who taught by the pen taught man what he doesn't know. And so it is as if knowledge is being encouraged, religious and knowledge of this dunya. And Allah is telling us Muslims that learn the knowledge of this religion that will come from Allah, and then learn the knowledge of men that comes from the pens. But realize that even that knowledge, I gave it to men. Why? Because الَّذِي عَلَّمَ بِالْقَلَمِ, I'm the one who taught you how to write with the pen. عَلَّمَ الْإِنسَانَ مَا لَمْ يَعْلَمْ, Allah is the one who taught man what he did not know. If Allah did not teach man, man would never know any of these things. And of course, this is beautiful here, and we already mentioned in a khutbah many months ago that I gave, that even in this verse, subhanAllah, such profundity and power, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that Allah is telling man to go ahead and read what others have written. Allah is encouraging knowledge. Read what others have written. And this command does not apply to the Prophet ﷺ because he is not literate, he is unlettered. So this is a command to the Muslim ummah, that go ahead and read what the others have written, increase your knowledge. And this verse came down to an unlettered nation, a backward civilization, a group of people who didn't know how to read and write. All of Mecca, there were probably 5 people that could read and write. A civilization that did not even have a script to write down its language. It didn't even have a developed script. If you try to read Arabic of that era, I guarantee you nobody in this room can understand that script, because it is a type of script that is no dots, no tashkil, no nuqat, no nothing. It's a type of script that's closer to hieroglyphics than it is to what we understand as Arabic. In that era, Allah is telling them, go read what people have written. Go read and increase your horizons of knowledge. And it is not a coincidence that 100 years later, the Muslims are already becoming the greatest superpower on earth. 200 years later, 300, 400, 500, they become the bastion of human civilization. They reach the pinnacles of their period. There are people coming to study medicine, science, chemistry, engineering, law in Islamic lands, and then going back to their own lands. And I've already said, there are documented cases. We know the names and the contributions of people who would come from modern day England, modern day Italy, modern day France. They would come to Andalus, they would come to North Africa, and they would study medicine. And then they would go back and teach it to their people. Just like in our times, Muslims come to America and they study medicine, but they don't go back to the people, they stay here. But that's a different point. And they study medicine and engineering. Once upon a time, the exact opposite happened, right? And why did this happen? Because Allah encouraged knowledge from the first revelation. Go ahead and study. Go ahead and learn. Go ahead and broaden your horizons. But as you do this, remember, all of this knowledge comes from me. If I hadn't given it to you, you wouldn't have it. And even the knowledge, Allah mentions one of the knowledges we take for granted. But wallahi, it is such an amazing feat. And that is writing. Allah mentions writing in this verse. الَّذِي عَلَّمَ بِالْقَلَمِ عَلَّمَ الْإِنسَانَ مَا لَمْ يَعْلَمْ. The whole concept of writing, it is really a miracle that the sounds that come out of my mouth, you can record them by paper and ink, by scribblings, and you can then write down what I have said and then pass it down to anybody who was not here. And this, if Allah had not taught it to us, we would never know it. And our Prophet ﷺ said, the first person to ever write with the pen was Idris. أَوَّلُ مَنْ خَطَّ بِالْقَلَمِ Idris. Allah taught the Prophet Idris how to write. And if Allah had not taught Idris how to write, we would never have learned how to write. All knowledge of this world goes back to Allah. SubhanAllah. Allah taught Adam. What did Allah teach Adam? How to speak. If Allah did not teach Adam how to speak, we would be like the animals, grunting and groaning. We would never have learned speech. Allah taught Adam how to speak. Allah taught Idris how to write. Allah taught Nuh how to build a ship. Allah taught Dawood how to build the armor or to make the armor malleable, right? Allah taught so many prophets, so many different things. And from these knowledges, all other human knowledge comes forth. And this is why whatever discovery we come across, it's nothing to do with us. Allah gave us the qudra. Allah gave us the intelligence. Allah gave us everything that we needed to do this. So Allah is saying, go ahead and study and read. But as you study, remember, I'm the one who gave all of this to you. Now, the significance of Iqra. Why does Allah begin with Iqra? Bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq. Because what is about to happen is that from now on, man will have a direct communication, a direct book that is coming from Allah. So the first revelation is recite this book that is coming directly from Allah. اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. This is, and of course, what is this book called? Quran. اقرأ, Quran. Because from this word we get Quran. And the Quran is the recitation. And also there's a connotation here that Iqra means both the recitation and the reading, both what is written and what is recited, and the Quran has been preserved in the hearts of men's memory and has been preserved in the writings of men. And this is the only book that is preserved in both. That the Quran is memorized completely, the first meaning of Iqra, and the Quran has been written down like no other holy book has been written down, and this is the second meaning of Iqra. And all of this talks about some of the wisdoms of the meanings of Iqra. A lot of Muslims, they never contemplate what is the significance of the first 5 verses of Iqra. Why would Allah begin the Quran with this? And inshallah, if you listen to some of these points, you understand why did Allah begin the revelation of the Quran with these verses. And the primary point is, this is a communication directly from Allah to all of mankind. Now, getting back to the story, Aisha is narrating in the hadith in Sahih Bukhari, the Prophet ﷺ returned back to Khadija. He ran back to Khadija. His heart was palpitating, right? تَرْجُفُ فُؤَادُهُ. His heart is palpitating. تَرْجُفُ فُؤَادُهُ. And he entered in upon Khadija and he says to her, زَمِّلُونِي زَمِّلُونِي. Cover me up, cover me up. This, of course, clearly shows how unexpected this was for the Prophet ﷺ. He's not expecting something of this nature. To see the figure of Jibreel, that is, of course, Jibreel was shown in his massive form. And there is nobody that could have climbed up the mountain, so quietly. This is a figure that is not human. And squeezed him so tightly. So he is terrified. His heart is palpitating. And when you are that nervous and that anxious, you get cold. And he's feeling cold. So he runs back to his wife Khadija. And this, wallahi, shows the humanity of our Rasul ﷺ. And it shows that his message was not premeditated. He didn't think one day, let me see how I can trick mankind. And let me see what I can do to talk to them about a false revelation. If you look at some of the other people who have claimed to be prophets, right? I don't want to mention names here, but there are people even in America 200 years ago that claim to be prophets. You look at their stories of prophethood, and it's pretty clear that they were premeditated, right? That they have a magnificent story which sounds so grandiose. Our Prophet goes running home to his wife Khadija, and it shows the humanity. He's terrified, and when you're terrified, you go back to your house. And you're scared, you're palpitating. And he says, cover me up, zammiluni, zammiluni. And of course, Khadija covers him up because you're trembling, you're scared. So he covers him up until finally he calmed down. So you can imagine, until finally he calmed down, he's literally palpitating. He's literally, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he's terrified. And this shows us the humanity and the unpreparedness or the fact that it wasn't premeditated. And then he told Khadija all that had happened. And wallahi, this shows how close the Prophet ﷺ was to Khadija. Abu Talib is still alive. The Prophet ﷺ cousins are all there. But the closeness that a man feels with his wife, the closeness that a man feels with the woman whom Allah Azza wa Jalla has chosen for the Prophet ﷺ, this is simply, obviously, the man needs the comfort of the woman, the man needs the love and the attention of a woman, so he goes back to Khadija, and Khadija calms him down. And when she calms him down, now he tells her the story, that such and such happened to me, and I am worried for myself. This is the phrase in Bukhari. I am scared for myself. This phrase has led to a lot of controversy. What did he mean by I'm scared for myself? لَقَدْ خَشِيتُ عَلَى نَفْسِي. There's over 12 opinions. What did he mean when he said, I am scared? And there are some really strange opinions that I don't want to mention here, but I think the bottom line, which is pretty clear, one of 2 or 3 things seems to be clear. Either he was scared of dying when Jibreel is hugging him, when Jibreel is squeezing him. So he goes, I got worried for myself. Or he is scared that he is seeing visions that normal people don't see. Sane people don't see. In other words, he's scared of losing his sanity. That I'm seeing things that other people are not seeing. And both of these are, I think, permissible to say, and both of them don't really have any sacrilegious connotations. Now he's worried, what's happening to me? I'm worried what is happening to me. So Khadija responded to him, Kalla wallahi ma yukhzika Allahu abada. The famous statement of Khadija, that no, by Allah, there's no reason for you to be scared. No, by Allah, Allah will never humiliate you. Allah will never do anything to cause you harm. إِنَّكَ لَتَصِلُ الرَّحِمِ. You are good to your kin, you're good to your family. وَتَحْمِلُ الْكَلِّ. And you take on the burdens of other people. وَتَكْسِبُ الْمَعْدُومِ. And you give money to those who have nothing. وَتُقْرِ الضَّيْفِ. And you are hospitable to the guest. وَتُعِينُ عَلَى نَوَائِبِ الْحَقِّ. And you do all types of good. Khadija summarizes the character of the Prophet ﷺ, and she gives us from her fitrah, without knowing any Quran, without knowing any hadith, she gives straight from her pure heart the beautiful rule that when you do good, Allah will do good to you. Simple rule. You don't need to memorize the whole Quran to know this basic rule. If you do good, Allah will show you good. And if you are righteous, then Allah will bless you. And Khadija is certain. Kalla wallahi, she's swearing by Allah. It's not possible that you should be worried. There's nothing for you to be worried about. Because you are such a righteous man, that our Lord will never cause you to suffer or be humiliated. And this really shows us why Allah chose Khadija for the Prophet ﷺ, that she is the one consoling. She is the one calming him down. She is the one telling him, no, nothing can be wrong. Everything's got to be right.